What's up, y'all? How is everybody doing? Randy Paddock here, and we made it. Episode 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Biff! The 5th episode of Bull Chat with Randy Paddock. Hope everyone's having a good one. It is Sunday, November 12th. Chilling here. I got Leroy running around sniffing like a crazy man. Got my kombucha on point here. Got to get that gut right. So the probiotic stuff's good. Speaking of gut, I'll tell you what. I'm on this new workout. So there's this guy, Jocko Willink. And if you never heard of Jocko Willink, I would definitely look into him. He was a Navy SEAL commander in Ramadi in Afghanistan. Or Iraq, I'm sorry. He was the American Sniper, Chris Cal. He was the platoon leader of that. And very inspirational, motivational guy. He's got a consultant company now. Him and his partner wrote this book, Extreme Ownership. But he's hilarious online, like on Instagram and on Twitter. And he's got this new book, Discipline Equals Freedom, Field Manual. And it's a pretty good book. I'm going to actually probably do a whole podcast dedicated to it when I finish it. But he's got these workouts in there that I've been doing. So I pledged that I'm just going to stick to those workouts for the rest of the year and not supplement anything else. Maybe the only thing I'm supplementing is some yoga and some jiu-jitsu. But in terms of weightlifting, not doing it. And man, it's fucking hard. So you do normal, a lift, a normal exercise for the day, whatever it is. So he breaks it up into 4. It's there's a push day that's focused on pushing. There's a pull day focused on pulling. There's a lift day focused on lifting. And then there's a squat day focused on squatting. And then he does something called gut in every one of them, which is core. Yesterday or something, I did 100 V-ups. That's stupid. But anyway, so that's some sort of gut. And then he does something for your heart. So it's sprints or running. And that was crazy too. I've never ran after a squat day before. So his was do squats and then run 2 miles. And I was very scared because sometimes after leg day, my legs don't work. But true to form, when I started running, I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to fall down in front of all these people. It's going to be sad. But after the initial kind of wobbliness of that, it goes through, and actually it was pretty cool. So, but I'll do a whole other thing about that. But yeah, I drink the kombucha to get my gut right. A lot of weird bacteria and things grow inside of you, so it's good to get that shit. Keep your gut health in check. Excuse me. So there's some stuff that we'll talk about today. I'll tell you what, first things first, I thought I'd seen it all in my 33 years on planet Earth. I'm Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man, but I've seen a lot of crazy, weird shit. I've seen a lot of things that defy logic. I've seen a lot of dumb things. I've never seen this before. I saw a woman, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, she returned an item to the dollar store for a refund. And I'm not talking Dollar General or whatever it is where shit costs more than $1. I'm talking the tree, son. The Dollar Tree where everything's $1. This lady returned a pumpkin carving kit that costs $1 for an in-store credit or something. I didn't even know that was possible. That's a thing. And I didn't know that you could do that. But yeah, she sure as shit returned that and asked for a credit dollar store. And then she asked what the tax would be on $1 when she got something else. And I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I am. I was like, what the fuck is going on here and why? I don't know, but that was some of the craziest shit that I've ever seen in my life. And now I can die fulfilled knowing that I've seen every wacky thing that is possible on this planet. But a few things I wanted to cover today. So awesome last night. So Saturday night, so November 11th, which I'll get into November 11th a lot on this podcast here. But first thing that happened was Catholics versus Convicts. What a game, man. That's me being sarcastic. But I always like the Catholics versus Convicts game because I like both of those football teams. So obviously growing up in Chicago, Notre Dame, most people are Notre Dame fans. That family gets you Notre Dame. So my uncle Tony's huge into Notre Dame. And growing up, I very much liked Notre Dame and came up on it. And that's what you like. So I love Notre Dame football. Love watching it. But I got into Miami back in the day when I was younger. I think it started because my sister was a thug when we were children, and she had a bunch of thug friends. And I remember they had like the U shit, like hurricane stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe it was like Uncle Luke 2 Live Crew stuff or whatever, but they had all the U stuff. And then I started watching Miami, and I liked the swagger, I like the edge, I like all that bullshit. So I started liking Miami, you know, and then obviously I was lucky enough to see when they made those crazy runs in like 2000, 2001, 2002, when they had those teams that was like dynasty teams with a bunch of, you know, seeing like Ed Reed in his prime, you know, McGahee, Clinton Portis, when they had all those running backs, and like Olsen and Kellen Winslow, like they had all those tight ends. Like the U was the shit. So it was good. Like I was pretty pumped for this game because it was actually a meaningful game. Both the teams are ranked this year and good, and Notre Dame got their asses waxed by Miami, which I had a feeling was going to happen. Miami, you know, they won some close games there, but their defense is nasty, and then they were going and playing in South Florida, you know, so I mean, they beat the shit out of them. It wasn't a good game, so Miami probably ranked pretty high, and Notre Dame's probably going to be out of it. But the thing that Miami has going on now, which is awesome, and a lot of people probably think it's annoying, but I think it's sweet, is the turnover chain. So if you are not familiar with what the turnover chain is exactly how it's a Cuban link chain, because they got to get back to their roots of being Cubano narco drug lords. But so it's a gold chain. And then with fat ass gold chain, like an old school that a 1992 rapper, maybe an Uncle Luke, would wear, gold chain, and then it's got a big ass U, Miami U on it. And what happens is anytime you're on defense and you get a turnover, you get the turnover chain, and then you come over, the coach puts on your head, all your teammates celebrate and slap the shit out of you, and then you stand up on the bench and you do some shit. And it's awesome. And the thing that makes it awesome is like, the thing with Miami and what they always got shit for is like, you know, being boisterous or whatever. But I think the turnover chain's a cool thing because it's just team celebrating. It's everyone celebrating someone's individual accomplishment. And there's something to be said about that. Like, if everyone could truly be happy for people's individual accomplishments, and you string together a lot of people having a lot of individual accomplishments, that's how you have a kick-ass team. So in terms of the turnover chain at the U, is like everyone wants it because it's fucking awesome. Like you get it put on, everyone goes nuts around, you get to stand up, the TV camera goes on, you get to do whatever the hell you want to do. So all these guys are really trying for it. And then what it does is it's creating a competition. So individuals on a team trying to make great individual plays. And then when they do, the whole team celebrates it. So it reinforces playing good and accountability. And I think there's something to be said about that. And then it builds self-esteem, builds confidence, and that becomes a very hard thing to stop, is a bunch of confident guys that are just all about each other and about celebrating each other's victories and not hating on it, but being pumped about it, because it doesn't matter. Anyone can get it. Whoever gets a turnover gets it. Not like there's only one per game. I think there's like 3 or 4 turnovers in the Notre Dame game. And it's pretty cool. So I thought that was awesome, and we'll see what happens with Miami this year. But there's 2 main points I want to talk about today. The first one is just a little touch on, I guess it's not that main of a point, but just November 11th. So yeah, it was yesterday. So November 11th, a couple of meaningful things to me. So one, obviously it's Veterans Day. And I think that Veterans Day is awesome because we live in America, man, and America has its faults and its problems, of course, but, I mean, where else are you going to live? This is the spot to be. Like, I love America. I don't love all the bullshit that can come along with it from time to time, but I'm a firm believer, man, like in The Godfather. The first line of The Godfather is, I believe in America, man, and so do I, and I love it here, and I love the fact that I have the freedom to do whatever the fuck I want, that I have endless opportunity to do what I want, that anyone has opportunity to do what they want, and I know it's like a cliche, it's like a t-shirt and probably a country song, but like freedom isn't free, man, and there's people 24/7, 365 that are defending that, and I think that we need to really think about that sometimes, you know, and I think every human being and every person listening to this has a friend or a family member that's probably been in the military before, or is currently in the military. My papa and a couple of his brothers were all in the military. and I had a bunch of buddies that were in the military, and it's a tough route to go because there's not a draft going on right now. So people that are signing up, especially now, like if you've signed up in the military in the last, since 9/11, like, there's a good chance you're going to be going and getting into some shit. So I applaud the balls on the men and the women that sign their name on a piece of paper. It says, yeah, I'm going to go and I know I'm going to get into some shit, but it's important, and I think, I try not to watch too much TV these days in terms of like media and like news and stuff, but everyone's fucking bitching about shit all the time. This is wrong. 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 And you know what? That's true. There's a lot of stuff that's wrong, but why not focus on what's right? You know what I mean? And why not focus of, hey, you can bitch about what's wrong. I fucking saw this thing the other day. I don't know if it was real or not, but I thought it was hilarious. It was like the year anniversary or whatever for like Trump's election. And there was like a bunch of people that were like gathered around just screaming into the sky. They're doing something like, but like you can do that. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of cool. Like our presidential situation's fucking crazy and I'm not going to get into it, but like this is the most people that can openly talk shit to a president. And it's like, fine. And you know what? Like you have that because we live in America. If you live in certain other countries where you want to talk out against the government or stuff, like that's when people steal you in the night and like fucking kill you and your family. You know what I mean? And we don't have that. We have the freedom to do what we want. If you want to walk around the streets wearing a thong and playing a guitar like the Naked Cowboy, you could do that shit. If you want to start a business from nothing and fucking build something, you can do that. If you want to just play the lottery all day long and hopefully hit it big, you can do that. If you want to sit around and do jack shit, you can do that. If you want to pick up a fucking shitty microphone and have a computer and start a podcast, you could do anything. And I think that we forget that sometimes. And as human beings, we naturally focus on what's wrong and woe is me and this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. And we don't realize, like, we have the freedom to be able to bitch about stuff. And the only reason we do is because there's people right now, as I'm speaking, as we're thinking, as anything that's going on, are sitting in shitty places doing shit that they might not want to do because it's important to them. You know what I mean? And I think that one day, Veterans Day, and then, we have Memorial Day and stuff. It's not enough. It's not enough to remember that. So I don't know, man. Like, just remember that stuff, and we got it good here. As flawed as we got it good, and there's people that fight every day, and there's the veterans that have died and, just done it for us. And I don't know. That's just not some shit I take too lightly, and I think no one should, and we kind of take it for granted sometimes. So don't just put up a fucking picture of an American flag on the days on Instagram so everyone knows that you're a true patriot. But, like, think about it, man. Write about it, like a gratitude journal. Maybe like thank that sometimes. Next time you see a military guy, say thanks. Like get like, you know what I mean? Like just think about that. Volunteer to help out, whatever. But that's one thing about November 11th. Like I love America, man, and I'm really glad I live here. And I think we're all lucky to be born here. And I think we're all even luckier that there are people with the balls to want to defend that for us every fucking day. And then the next part of November 11th that I like is that it is my mother's birthday. So I am, I got some Italian blood flowing through these veins, so I'm naturally a mama's boy. And lucky for me, my mom's Italian, so she naturally loves her son the most. I'm the baby boy, so unfortunately for my sister, my mom loves me more than her. And it's okay. It's just the roll of the dice. But it's my mom's birthday, and I like spending time with her, and I was thinking about it, like I was wishing her a happy birthday, and I was thinking about like how do people not like their parents? Like again, it's one of those things like criminal or Law and Order. They did I don't know if it was a miniseries or, but we're doing the Menendez Brothers. I don't know if you remember those two fuckers, like Lyle and Kyle. I think they might have had matching names, or Eric and Kyle, or Eric and Lyle. I forgot. But remember those dudes, the brothers that like shot their parents with shotguns? Well, like Law and Order did like a special, like reenact or whatever. But like, I remember that shit from when I was a kid. I was like, man, like those fucking dudes. But like, how could you like? I don't give a shit. Like, I don't understand how people. Well, A, could kill your parents. That's just crazy. Or kill anyone for that matter. But like, how can you not like your parents, even if they're shitty, man? Like, especially like your mom. Like, she literally carried you around in her belly. Like, we were a fucking inconvenience since birth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were in there while mom was, like, lugging us around and, you know, having to eat shit that was probably gross and, like, having to probably pee all the time because we're on the bladder or whatever. And then, like, then she gave birth, which I'm pretty sure is, like, if not the most painful, one of the most painful things throughout the human existence. So, like, how can you not respect that and be thankful that that happened to you? Like, I don't know. People are like, I fucking hate my mom. I'm like, what? I want to slap your mouth. Like, I love my mom. You know what I mean? And, like, again, it goes back into that, like, what's wrong, as opposed to, hey, man, thanks for, you know, carrying me around and giving birth to me and not killing me. Like, there's other animals out there that, like, after they have their kids, they kill them or eat them. You know, like, we're not that far down the food chain from, like, chimpanzees and shit where that kind of shit happens, you know, where, like, a baby chimp comes out and then a male chimp comes and eats them or kills them or whatever, you know what I mean? And the moms have to protect them, like, hey, Mom, thanks for not letting me get eaten by another person or killed, you know? Thanks for carrying me around and giving me the stuff I need to be alive. So, like, shut the fuck up and give your mom a hug and a kiss and say thank you, you know? And on Mother's Day, do nice stuff. And on random days, do nice stuff. And, like, your mom, like, cut her some slack if she's ever giving you some shit or whatever, because, again, if she's not, you're not here without mom. So I think that's definitely something to remember. So I remember that, and happy birthday, Kathy, again. You know, so I want to talk about that. So then what I really want to get into, the nuts and bolts of this podcast, is I want to talk about someone that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the fucking Rolex wearing, the diamond ring wearing, the kiss stealing, whoo, wheeling and dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun. And that's the nature boy Ric Flair. And man, I'll tell you what, if you did not watch that 30 for 30, turn this off right now and go watch that 30 for 30. And if you do not have that DVR'd and rewatched 7 times, and stop this right now, go DVR and rewatch it, man. That nature boy Ric Flair documentary was awesome, and it did not like, they hyped it up and it delivered, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I thought it was awesome. You know, Ric Flair is one of my favorite, if you like my favorite wrestlers growing up as a kid, the top, like, 4 would be Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and then probably like Ultimate Warrior or something like that. And I mean that's probably pretty standard issue, but Ric Flair was in WCW, so he was different to watch. But man, that thing was awesome. You know, like, just going about, and it's got a bunch of key points I want to talk about. But, like, I forgot, like, how awesome he was, and then it was also sad. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes we forget with these stars that they have lives, and it got and, like, when they talked about, like, when his kid died, and then Charlotte Flair. It was funny, when I used to work in Raleigh, I worked with these kids that were from Charlotte, that, like, went to school with Reed Flair and, you know, Charlotte Flair. I forgot what her real name is, maybe Ashley or whatever. And, like, went to, like, high school with them. And, like, so when she was talking, like, the summer house they partied at, like, I remember I worked with this dude who, like, partied there with them and, like, knew those people and talked about that. And, like, we'd talk about where they'd see, you know, Flair running around Charlotte, like, buying drinks, doing all this stuff. But I thought it was really good, and I think they did it really well, and it brought me back to my childhood. And like I said, man, if people say that, like, sports and stuff, and I don't even give a shit if it's wrestling or whatever sport, can't, like, are, like, dumb, you're dumb, because there's just emotion, it brings you back, and it just brought me right back to being a kid, and, like, my old friends when I was a kid, and sleepovers I used to have when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, we used to rent. I don't know if we rented them. We for sure had a black box at some point in time, but a black box was a box you can get that gave you, like, all the pay-per-view channels. But before that, we for sure would rent them. And I was lucky enough, again, thanks Mom and Dad, where we were able to rent all the WWF pay-per-views back in the day. So I'd have all my buddies over, and we'd go in the basement, and we'd get, like, pizzas and all his foods, and, like, we'd watch all the WWF pay-per-views, and then we'd beat the shit out of each other and fake wrestle. It was awesome. And so they were talking about when Ric Flair came to WWF. I fucking remember that when he won the Royal Rumble, was, like, the greatest thing. We were all figure 4 leg locking each other in the basement, and sometimes we'd get hurt because people didn't know what they were doing. But man, that was my thing. And again, I probably talked about it before, like cheese sandwiches and watching WWF Superstars and Saturday Night Main Event. And I had wrestling buddies. I had a Flair one and I had a Hogan one. And I used to fight my wrestling. If you don't remember what a wrestling buddy was, it was like a pillow doll for boys. And so it was pick your favorite wrestler, and they were like standing like with their arms in a upside down U kind of thing, if you can imagine that. And that was that way so you can like put your head under it and they'd like have you in a headlock. And I just remember jumping around the couches and having the wrestling buddies beat my ass, and then I would beat the shit out of the wrestling buddies. I would leg drop Hogan, like I would get Flair, and I'm talking hours of time doing this, you know. It was called having like an imagination. I think kids are lacking that these days, but it was super fun. So it brought me back, and I loved, you know, Ric Flair was very different from the rest of the wrestlers because and they made a good point about it, like he was like ahead of his time in terms of a lot of things, but as a kid, he was like, it was easy to relate to Hulk Hogan, because he was like a superhero. He was the Hulk, man. He was huge and oily and tan as fuck and had sweet hair. You know, he'd rip his shirt off and he was telling you to eat your vitamins, and he would just point at people and like start shaking his head. And if you started hitting him, he'd start shaking and go nuts. Then he'd throw you against the ropes and boot kick you in the face and leg drop you and lights out. You know what I mean? And then, you know, you had the Ultimate Warrior who would just fucking talking nonsense, and he would just go nuts and smash people. The Macho King, who was, I mean, Macho Man, Macho King, at each level of what he was awesome. And then Ric Flair, and you don't notice until you get older how like sweet and inappropriate they were. All Ric Flair talked about was like getting wasted and like banging chicks, and it was like you want to have a good time. Go to YouTube and type in Ric Flair's greatest hits, Ric Flair going nuts. And all he's doing is talking about having all that. He's like the first gangster rapper. He's talking about all this money he has, all these limousines he has, diamond rings, limousine, diamond ring, like popping champagne, buying drinks for everybody, his gator shoes, his watch, and all this shit. And there's all the ladies he had. And like, he said he slept with like, he like lowballed these like 10,000 women. Like, that's fucking crazy. So, like, on the flip side, you had that, like, Savage was, like, with Queen Elizabeth, so he wasn't talking about ladies. He was just high on cocaine all the time, doing awesome shit. Hogan was, like, just telling you about eating your vitamins and saying your prayers so you can get the 23-inch or whatever, pythons, and being a good guy. And then the Ultimate Warrior, cocaine, I guess, as well, was just talking in gibberish. Da, 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 da. Like, that's how he would talk and say gibberish words. But, so Ric Flair, here's a couple of things that like made him awesome, and I thought it was really cool to attach to life. And I think there's something to be said. It's not what you say about yourself, it's like what others say about you. And again, it's like edited or whatever, but all the people they interviewed, I don't think they got together beforehand and like talked about, hey, this is what we're going to say about Ric Flair. But here's a couple of takeaways I got from it that I thought were pretty cool. One is like, he made others the best. Like, he brought the best out in others when he was, like, wrestling with them. And that was the thing, like, Hogan was talking about a lot. Like, Hogan's like, yeah, people say I'm the best because I changed the game. He's like, but in terms of, like, the wrestling and stuff, he's like, I got smoked. He's like, I was very basic compared to, you know, Ric Flair. And then they were talking, like, Ricky Steamboat, who him and Ric Flair had a bunch of like crazy wrestling matches back in the day, and Dusty Rhodes, like hour-long matches, and like they're talking to Sting, like when he first came out, and they were talking about just like how he would make others look good. Like he didn't mind like with Hogan and stuff, and like Ultimate Warrior, they didn't like get the shit kicked out of them so much. You know what I mean? Like, they were usually, I mean, a little bit, because there has to be some sort of a drama effect. But, like, for the most part, like, you're not kicking the shit out of Hogan. Maybe for a little bit. Then, like I said, he starts shaking his head, and his, like, wet mullet's flapping in the wind, and he says, fuck you, and no, enough's enough. And he points at you and shakes it, and then you hit him, and then he goes, like, and, like, blows his face out. Then you hit him a couple times, and then it's over. You throw that last punch, he blocks it. He smashes you, kicks you in the face, and it's over. But, like, Ric Flair used to get the shit kicked out of him, you know? And some of Flair's most famous like moves are moves when he's getting his ass whooped. Like, let me name two. One is when he throws it, when you get thrown to the turnbuckle, and he does like the flip over it, and then ends up on the outside of the ring, and then usually catches a clothesline. And then the other one is when he gets smashed a couple times, and he walks forward a couple steps and dives right on his face. So, like, what people were saying is that, like, he did these things, so even if you weren't like the greatest wrestler, like, he would sell and act it so much that it made you look the best. It made you look great. And this helped with especially younger guys in making their career. And there's something to be said about that, where someone's very selfless and confident in the fact that they would do things. They don't always have to look the best, but through making other people look great, they look great as well. You know, and it kind of trickled into they're saying he didn't have an ego about things, which is pretty ironic for the fact that his whole persona of Ric Flair was like very egocentric, right? He was talking about all his bitches and all his jewels and all his money and all his limousines and all his private jets. But like, he did not mind going in there and like getting beat up, you know, and he didn't have an ego of, I got to win, I got to be the champ. Like, and he was one of the most decorated champions, 13-time world champion. But like, that wasn't like, he would go in there and lose. Like, that would be okay. Or hey, do this, you're going to look better this way. So he knew about like the collective, and that I think he always focused more on the big picture. And I think it's because maybe he was very passionate about wrestling. You know, what I got from that 30 for 30 as well as maybe to a fault. He was very passionate about it, but he knew the greater of there's a higher purpose than just him in that. And the more he could make other people look great, the more he get catapulted by default, the better he would do. And I think it was very relatable, you know, like he was a guy. You know what I mean? Like, the Hulk was the Hulk. The Ultimate Warrior was literally, I used to get this magazine. So I used to subscribe to WWF magazine, and it was awesome. And like every year or so, maybe, they came out with one that had like the roster of all the wrestlers and had a couple of their pictures that had some bios. And it was like, name, weight, height, where you're from, special move, this, that, and the other. So like, for like the Ultimate Warrior in particular, it's like, name, Ultimate Warrior, height, whatever, weight, whatever, from parts unknown. So like that, you can't be really relatable being from parts unknown. You know what I'm saying? So like, and you know, being like getting calling from the gods or whatever. And then, you know, so with Ric Flair though, he was just like a guy, and you know, he was in shape. He didn't have like the crazy physique of Hulk Hogan or these guys. And like, he would get beat up, but there's like very a human thing about it, you know. And then again, he would help catapult these other people. And I think that's just, I know I'm reiterating that point, but like, there's something to be said about that. And especially like in the world of leadership and in team and in business, you know, I think a lot of people, some of the greatest leaders, make other people their best, and they don't have an ego. They don't have to be out front of things. Like, their play makes other people around them better. And I think that's a sure sign of knowing that you're doing it right. And I think that's a sign of success, is that like the credit isn't to you. Like, you're confident in yourself enough that you know you're going to look good, that you know you're going to perform. But it's not about that. It's about, how do I have this guy look great? How do I have this guy perform? How do I make this guy better than me? You know, and I think it takes a lot of self-confidence in someone to do that, but I think that's a great trait to have. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, that's something to think about in like owning your life and being accountable for your actions. Like, you're in control of that, and you don't need to be, oh, look what I do, look what I do, look what I do, look what I do. It's like, hey, look what they do, look what they do, look what they do. And I think that's how you become someone worth following, and it's more of a natural progression into leadership and into good business. Like, who wouldn't want to get into business with somebody that they knew that every time they're in business with them, they're going to look good? And I think that in business in particular, because most people are egocentric in business, and what about the me and what about the now, you know, especially like CEOs of companies or presidents or whatever, or even like management, like, look at me, look at me. So why would I not want to do business with? I know, hey, if I do business with this person, I'm going to look good. You know what I mean? So then you're just building a stellar reputation, and people want to work with you. People want to be around you. What wrestler would probably be like, oh, no, I don't want to work with Ric Flair because I'm just going to get my ass kicked, and he's going to be Ric Flair and get all this shit, as opposed to like fuck yeah, I want to get with Ric Flair because he's going to make me look good and I'm going to get propelled. And it's just creating that vibe. And I think that's such a great vibe that people want to be around. And what you're doing is you're creating and cementing a future and a legacy. So maybe think about that. It's not, what about me? It's about what can I do to make others look good and not have to take all the credit? And can I put my ego aside? Because people's ego is what gets them into trouble all the time. And don't get me wrong, ego is a good thing. I think competition is a good thing, and wanting to be great at shit is a good thing. And I think wanting to, shine is a good thing. But like, I think it's also a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, me. Oh, and then like we get kind of, our ego gets very big and can get damaged, and then we're defensive, or we can lash out, or we don't even remember who the hell we are. You know what I mean? Or our core things, we're just focused on our ego and saving face, and then we're not humble anymore, or maybe we won't learn, or maybe we get bullheaded, and all these are steps backwards as opposed to, not having an ego and, hey, maybe this person's right. Hey, maybe this person knows more than me. Hey, maybe this person's more efficient and can do things better. Maybe I should learn from them. And that's progress. Because there's always more than one way to skin a cat, but if your ego is always in the way, you might not think that, and then you're standing in your own way of your own progress. And that's what it's about, man. That's what life, I think, is about. It's about the journey of progression and consistently getting better at life, man. And what's life? Life's a lot of different things. I think life's relationships. I think life's health. I think life's mental sanity. I think life's having a spiritual aspect. I think life's doing well, on others. I think life's like taking advantage of every day, motherfucking YOLO. I think, life is the imprint that we're making on humanity, that we're making on this planet, on this one time we're spinning around this globe, you know what I mean? And on this, and having a life. So like, if we have too big of an ego or don't want to help others or give them the credit sometimes or listen to them or I'm right or look at this or I'm bullheaded or my way or the highway or fuck you or whatever, like that's wasted days, man. And I don't think that's the way to go. So I think like maybe start judging yourself on that. Like, how good do I make other people? Is this person better around me? And I think it's not just business. It could be relationships, right? Like, I don't know about relationships a lot, I don't do them that much, but a lot of my buddies are married and I know a lot of married people. And I think a lot of the times a common thread with people's successful relationships is this person makes me better, or I want to be better when I'm around this person. So I think that's awesome. So in any relationship, do you want to be that husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or friend that's making someone strive to be better or bringing out the best in them? Or do you want to be the person like, oh yeah, this fucker's around again, or make them feel like shit or make them make bad decisions? I don't know. It's a choice, but I think maybe err on the side of, you're right sometimes, not having the ego. Am I making you better? Am I adding to this relationship where it's making you better, where we're bringing out the best in one another? So I thought that was a really cool thing. And also about his loyalty. I think loyalty it's a personality trait, I guess if you would call it that I very much admire. And I think it's one that's kind of dropping by the wayside these days is people aren't really loyal to shit, and it's from business. People jump around jobs and this, that, and the other. It's in relationships, especially with access to all this bullshit online stuff you could do. I mean, people cheat on people fucking left and right. We're a bunch of assholes when it comes to our friends. Yeah, I'll come out and then don't answer a text, or 20, an hour, 2 hours later, yeah, I guess I'm staying in, or ghosting out on stuff. Like, loyalty, I don't think means as much as it used to back in the day. And it makes sense, back in the day and in tribe days and caveman days and, when times were a little bit rougher, like you had to depend on each other more. So we were loyal to stuff. But he was saying something about like, he was like the biggest guy. They were saying he was the biggest guy in WCW at the time. He had the Four Horsemen, right? The original Four Horsemen, who was like the first gang. And he had these opportunities to move to the WWF, which was like the big show. And he didn't, because he knew that what he had going on there, it wasn't just about him. There was other guys, especially the guys in his crew, that now had houses because of like the notoriety he was bringing to it, that had families that were getting supported now because they were in the Four Horsemen or doing those things. And he was loyal to his friends and loyal to thinking about their lives, and not just what was good for him, but was good for the people that he was helping out, And if you create enough value, you're going to get yours anyways. Like, it's not like, yeah, he could have made those jumps, but like he was creating enough value where he was at, where the stuff kept coming, and he was able to come through for people he made promises to, So I think there's something to be said about that and about being loyal. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you don't want to be loyal to a fault. You got to know when a ship's sinking, but like, don't jump away too quick on things. You know what I mean? Like, before you quit anything, remember why you started. Make a commitment to things and be loyal to things, and let things play out. A lot of times people make commitments to stuff, and like little things like a gym or whatever, and they want to get out of stuff because it's an inconvenience or it's hard, or people start a job. I see this all the time, like interviewing people for jobs. Like, they start a job and they jump and they jump and they jump, and it's usually because things got tough and they got lazy, or they quit because it got harder or whatever. Instead of just letting things play out, you have to let things play out, especially through the tough times, to see if it's worth it. With relationships, I'm dating this girl. She's kind of a bitch now. I'm dating this girl. Hey, that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, people have personality tics and things that are annoying. But if anything's worth a shit and going to be worth it in the long run, there's going to be ups and downs. So if you bail anytime there's a down, like, how do you know? You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said about commitments, and making things bigger than you. If you make things bigger than you and have like big whys attached to why you're doing what you do, you won't let it down as much. Like, it's easy to hit the snooze button. That's the first letdown of the day. But if you have a bigger why attached to, hey, I'm starting this day because I'm going after X, Y, and Z goal, and this goal is attached to the livelihood of my mom or my family or this, that, and the other, like, it's not as easy to hit snooze. Right? Or, hey, this person came through for me, I'm going to come through for them. If I'm thinking like that and not as selfish, again, getting rid of that ego and things of that nature, it's easier to make that tough decision. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then when he left and went to the WWF, he quit because someone broke their word to him. And that is an easy, okay time to do it. Right? A new guy like had taken over the WCW and they promised him a contract and they didn't pull through on what they said. So he said, all right, I'm out. And I think it's okay with that. If someone breaks their word, again, there's going to be different degrees of that and when you want to write someone off or not. But like, if someone says something, it is okay to hold them accountable to that and expect them to follow through on that. Just as if I say something or if you say something, you should hold yourself accountable to saying to following through on what you said you're going to do. Otherwise, just shut the fuck up and don't say it. And I feel a lot of people do that these days, and there's not an accountability culture. So anyone could say, yeah, I'll do this, and then they flake out because people just let it slide. Well, try this. Don't let it slide. And start on a small scale, right? If you got a buddy that's like, yeah, I'll come out and do this, and they flake out, like next time they ask you to do something, like, nah, I'm good. And if they're like, well, what's up? Like, well, last time we wanted to do something, it didn't show up. So if we both agree we're going to do this, it's got to happen. You know what? People are like afraid to have these conversations. And you could have it at work. You could have it with your boss. You could have it with team members. You can have it with, maybe people that work with you or under you. Like these conversations, open communication, like that's how we get together, and figure things out and get through life and progress instead of just, harboring those feelings. Oh, this guy's a flake, so fuck this guy, or write him out of things as opposed to communicating it. Right. And then if people let us slide all the time, we're just fine. And we're creating that habit of not following through. And that's how people sit around and all of a sudden 20 fucking years pass, 10 fucking years pass, and they're bitching about, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda, or still wearing their Letterman's jacket from 96, talking about that time they scored 4 touchdowns in the fucking homecoming game. Right. Hold yourself accountable. Have some follow through. Have some loyalty to yourself. Right, so I thought that was a good point as well. And then obviously the work hard, play hard, man. That Nature Boy, he said something, I don't know what it was verbatim, but like he went 25 years or something having like 10 beers and 10 like martinis a day or something like wild. And the doctor's like, how are you alive? He's like, oh, I don't know. Like I thought that was normal. So I'm not going to that extent, but man, you got to have fun when you're doing whatever you do, right? People go out and say, I want to go like chase my passion. Someone else is not going to have your passion. You need to build your own passion. So whatever you're doing, you got to make it yours. And you got to have fun while you're doing it. You got to enjoy it. We get so stick up our ass. I don't know how to put it. Like we get to stick up our ass all the time and have to be so focused, which is good. But you got to have fun and enjoy the ride when you're doing things. Otherwise, what the fuck is the point? Like I said, we only go around one time. So if I'm 100% focused on my career or being the perfect model for my family or having as much money as humanly possible, X, Y, and Z, and I'm not having a good time, then was it worth it? I don't fucking think so. You know what I mean? And get out there and live. Experience things with other human beings on this planet. I was bitching about it the other day, right? About people that just sit around and binge watch. What'd you accomplish? Oh, fuck, dude, it was awesome. I watched all 20 episodes of the 2 seasons of Stranger Things. Fuck you. That was not awesome. Right? Yeah, it's a great show. But if that's how you spent your day, man, you didn't live. You owe that to somebody. Give that to somebody else, man. That is some bullshit. Right? Experience something. Go out. Say hi to somebody. Right? Get your buddies together. Do something. Call someone on the phone. Say what's up. Meet up. Do something. Have some fun. Go have a laugh. Live, goddammit. Enjoy the ride. Set little goals and hit them and then celebrate. You know what I mean? Next time you're doing something by yourself, do it with someone else. Find the fun. Take that trip. Go somewhere. People always put shit off. I'm waiting. Why the fuck? Do it now. Do simple things. Well, I can't do this. Well, do something else. Figure it out. But have a good time, man. You got to have a good time. And we like to be around people. Don't just sit there by yourself doing nothing. Get around people. Even if they're strangers. You know what? If you say hi to them, they're not a fucking stranger anymore. People say that, well, I don't know. I don't have many friends. Go and make a fucking friend. How do you do it? Go to a place or do something that you have an interest in. Chances are the other people there have the same interest. Boom. There's a common interest. Not that hard to make a fucking friend, right? But get out there and do some shit. Play hard. Work your ass off. Hit goals. Live an awesome life and then enjoy it. Do some fun shit, man. And then get back on the hard shit. Hard fun, right? Don't fuck off too much. Everything in moderation, including moderation, right? So stick to your goals, hit it. And when you hit it, celebrate a little and get right the fuck back on it. And that's how you have a healthy life, man. But you got to have fun, smile, laugh your ass off. That's one of my goals all the time. I have a shit ton of goals that I hit, and a lot of them are serious. They're focused around business. They're focused around health, well-being. But also one of my goals is laugh my ass off every day. Every fucking day, I want to laugh my ass off. So I'm always looking for shit that's going to be funny to me, right? If not, I might call one of my friends and tell me a funny story. Recall something. Watch some stupid shit on YouTube. But I'm laughing my ass off 12, 13 times a day. Because it's a goal of mine. And I focus on it. And you know what? When I'm laughing, I'm feeling good. Shit ain't that big of a deal. So work hard. Set goals. Be disciplined, right? Do that shit. That is living. That is being in control, right? Don't have an ego. Right? Learn. Be a student of life. Be a student of others. Try new things. And that's what people do too. They try something new and then it doesn't work after 4 days, so they quit it. Right? Be loyal and commit to something. If you're going to try something new, do it for a while where we'd be able to let it plan out through the ups and downs and then see if you want to continue to do it or not. Right? Attack your shit. Create value. Right? Go after getting things that you want in life. Think about it. Visualize it. Talk about it. Do it. And then fucking celebrate and have a good time, man. Have a beer. If you don't have a beer, you don't drink, have a coffee. You don't have caffeine, have a water. Who gives a fuck? Do it with someone. Cheers it up. And, man, get out there and do the damn thing. And you can put this one in the books. See y'all.